So after a couple of weeks away following the end of the Chinese Grand Prix, F1 was back and it was our first race for this year in America, as we were headed to the Sunshine and Circuit Florida Man for this year's Miami Grand Prix. Now normally I do like to back the hometown driver, however in this case, well, it's Logan Sargent's home race. And while I don't think the American will be doing too well, there are 19 other drivers to get through and see how I think they're going to be doing. Plus stick around to the end to see exactly what my dog Enzo thinks is going to happen for this race. We've been doing predictions for every race so far, so stick around for those at the end. But without any more waffling, let's get into the video and to my 2024 predictions for the Miami Grand Prix. Starting off with my qualifying GOAT, and this time I've gone with George Russell. Picking a Mercedes driver to do well at the moment is probably about as advisable as drinking some bleach. However, Mercedes are set to be bringing some upgrades, plus George Russell has been doing better than Hamilton this year, and so out of the two of them I feel like that upgrade plus George Russell over Lewis mix makes some kind of sense. Plus we know that George typically is much better on a Saturday than he is on a Sunday. Getting into my quali fail, and honestly I tried to avoid putting him here, but it's Lance Stroll. At the end of the day, you're coming off of a really poor race in China, and Lance this year, although he's had maybe one half decent race, the rest have all been pretty bad. And so I feel like as his weekends generally go, something's got to go wrong for him every time, and this for me is going to be his qualifying. He's never been the best at it, plus it's a sprint weekend with not much practice, and I really feel like that could hamper him. Not to mention the Q1 and Q2 exits so far this year. Then we get to my sneaky good, and I'm really pleased to be saying I've actually gone with Daniel Ricciardo. No, I've not gone insane, it's just that over the past couple of races he's slowly been improving, arguably doing better than Tsunoda was in China, and so I feel like Daniel could really continue that trend. He's not really got a chance in the last two races to showcase exactly what he can do, and I feel like given that chance, he's now kind of getting to that level where we're going to see good races from him. And so if the weekend is clean, fingers crossed, I feel like this could be one for him. Then we get to sneaky bad, and I've gone with Oscar Piastri. Now I like Oscar, and his TikTok game is absolutely elite. However, in the last couple of races he has sort of been clearly off the back of Lando, and while I feel like China was particularly bad, I feel like you can't quite close that gap up in the space of one race. Plus again, sprint weekend, not much time to practice, straight into it, and so I feel like for Oscar he could still struggle a bit. Coupled with the fact that, as I've said before, his teammate is Lando Norris, who's going to be delivering P3s, P4s, always going to be up there, and so it's a tall challenge for Oscar to kind of make himself look good. Then we go for my driver of the day, and despite being at least 75 years old, I've gone with Fernando Alonso. He just performs every single race, and there's never really any reason to doubt him. Plus, as I said before, it's a sprint weekend, so people don't have much time to practice, and a driver like Alonso I feel like really excels in those conditions. Maximises everything out of his car and always gets a good performance, plus a good result. So when it comes to my driver of the day, someone like Fernando I feel like is a very solid choice. Then we get to my fail of the day, and this one I've gone with Esteban Ocon, simply for the reason that last time he came in 11th place, which is far too good for Alpine at the moment, and so something has to be going wrong the next time out. Plus I feel like Ocon can often have those kind of races where things just go awfully wrong. A too aggressive move causes some damage, maybe the pace in the car isn't there as well, and that can see him towards the back in this one. At least I think that's a possibility. And then we get to my podium. Now in third place there's a whole host of drivers it could be, but in this one I've gone with Charles Leclerc. He generally had a good race last time out in China, and I feel like he could continue that through into Miami. Then we get to the top two, and sadly I've been pretty boring. It's going to be Red Bull, and it's going to be Sergio Perez. At the end of the day, who else are you really going to be putting here? I guess maybe you could say Checo P3, it did happen last time, but I feel like at the rate Red Bull are going twice in a row, bit too much to ask. Which of course leaves first place, probably the most obvious pick in all of sports right now. It's a win for Max Verstappen. Moving on to Enzo's predictions, and we have now completed 5 rounds, which means it's time to see how we did last time out. Both of us scored pretty highly in China, however I just managed to get it by 2 points, 26 to 24. If you don't know how the point scoring system works, you get 3 points for a correct answer, 2 points for 1 place away, and 1 point for 2 places away. That of course on the season means that I'm now up 3 to 2, which is actually the first time I've led this series since after race 1. Getting into Enzo's predictions for Miami though, and we're starting off with the bottom 10. Kevin Magnussen in 20th place, with homeboy Logan Sargent in 19th. Valtteri Bottas takes the 18th slot with Alex Albon in 17th. Pierre Gasly in 16th with Daniel Ricciardo in P15. Nico Hülkenberg, the first Haas in 14th, with George Russell a bit of a disappointing race for him in 13th. Yuki Tsunoda in 12th and Fernando Alonso in 11th, which you may think is low for Alonso, but given so far Enzo on average has put Fernando about 17th, 11th is a pretty good race for him. Moving into the top 10, and there's a number of different cars remaining, and after some deliberation as to who exactly Enzo wants in this spot, he's going to end up picking one of the Alpines, and it's Esteban Ocon in that 10th place. Moving on then to 9th, and it seems that those Mercedes upgrades aren't really working too well, as with George Russell already in 13th place, it's going to be Lewis Hamilton in 9th. Clearly not the best race for the Silver Arrows. Then into P8, and possibly Enzo's most surprising pick of the video so far, as he goes with Zhou Guanyu in the Sauber. While I'm all for Zhou doing well, I still feel like this 8th place could be a bit high. Talking of people a little bit high up, and the next person he's gone for, well, he's gone for Lance Stroll. If you said to me at the start of the year P7 for Lance, I'd have said, yeah, that sounds about right. However, after the start of the season, way too high. Then in 6th, just outside of the top 5s, it's going to go for one of the McLarens, and it's going to be Lando Norris. Clearly a real bounce back race for Oscar Piastri then. Into the top 5, and his 5th overall pick is going to be the other McLaren, Oscar Piastri. As I mentioned before, he didn't have the best race in China, and so finishing ahead of Lando in the next race would really be something. Into the top 4 then, and we're left with 2 Ferraris and 2 Red Bulls, but who is it going to be? It's going to be Charles Leclerc as the first Ferrari picked, and he slots into that 4th place slot. In my prediction, I had Leclerc as P3, and Enzo's gone from him P4, so he's clearly learning the ways of humans in the sense of where we put our drivers. Then we get to our podium with Sainz, Verstappen and Perez remaining, and it seems that Enzo is going to be leaving it as a Red Bull 1-2, as 3rd place goes to Carlos Sainz, picking up the other Ferrari to finish 1 place ahead of his teammate. And then we get to the top 2 with just the Red Bulls remaining, Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, and it looks like he's knocked the Max Verstappen bag underneath the desk. I mean, Sergio Perez is just sitting there, you could pick him up and bring him over to finish P2, but Enzo seems fully determined to make sure that Max Verstappen is the one that's going to end up in 2nd place. I did also consider helping him at this point, but he seemed incredibly determined to get exactly the right driver in 2nd place that I thought I'd just leave him to it. And eventually he did come back with the beanbag, and that driver is Max Verstappen to finish in 2nd place. He went for exactly the same result last time, and I've said this before, while it might not be my choice, it would make for a really good race. That of course leaves just 1 driver remaining, and it's going to be Sergio Perez, who's picked up to take a win. In Enzo's eyes, this would be his 2nd win in a row. So anyway, there you have Enzo's predictions along with mine as well. Let me know yours down in the comments below, and who do you think is going to finish on top for this round in Miami. But anyways, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed, do give the video a thumbs up. Make sure to get subscribed to the channel, and until next time, take care.